Operation Epic Fury.
Tehran put Trump in a coffin on a billboard today, and hours later, CENTCOM kicked off a sixth straight night of strikes. That image tells the whole story, doesn't it? The mullahs in Tehran, they can paint propaganda, but they cannot stop what's coming. And wait until you hear what Trump said about power plants and bridges. More than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen are enforcing Trump's blockade. 2 carriers, more than 20 warships, and the strait stays open for lawful shipping while Tehran gets choked off. That matters to every one of us because the Iranian regime tried to terrorize commercial vessels and hold global trade hostage. Trump snapped back with force, not excuses. And while the media panic machine pushed oil doom fantasies, Trump just said Iran will be defeated very soon. Strength stabilized the market. Tehran's threats cratered. And Karoline Leavitt just laid it out. Iran's defenses got wiped out, and that should make every American ask a harder question. If banks and markets run on code, what happens when code turns on you? Everybody cheers AI in the cloud until your wealth gets locked behind a screen. One hack, one keystroke, gone. Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, physical gold and silver, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack. Something that doesn't live on a server, can't be frozen by a keystroke, and can't be erased by code. You can even open a tax-advantage retirement account or get physical gold shipped right to your door. Go to nextnewsgold.com. Just mention my name for a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. America needs strength, not digital dependency. So the 388th Mechanized Infantry Brigade southeast of Tehran got hammered before tonight's wave. That's the part I want you to sit with. We're not watching token strikes. Trump pushed deeper. That hit armor, hit barracks, and tore into the regime near its own capital. Now let's look at the receipts and who are melting down right now. U.S. Central Command posting that at 2 p.m. Eastern, U.S. forces began conducting a new wave of strikes against Iran for the 6th consecutive night to further degrade Iranian military capabilities. So the CENTCOM strikes are still rolling and the pressure is working. Now Karoline Leavitt says Iran is begging for a deal even as Trump keeps the daily hits coming.
Move forward into a diplomatic phase, if you will, but unfortunately Iran has since violated that. They have expressed they still want to make a deal to the president. We're talking to them, but again, the president is not going to allow them to fire on ships in the Strait without paying a consequence for that. And I think just one more point, I think throughout this entire endeavor, the president has proved not just to Iran, but to the entire world that we can hit Iran anytime, anywhere, any place, and their ability to defend themselves has been essentially wiped out because of this president in Operation Epic Fury in the first place.
So Leavitt making the point plain, Iran wants talks because Trump smashed its defenses. Next, she explains why the strikes continued after Tehran crossed the line in the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, I've spoken with the president about this as recently as an hour ago. Iran very much continues to talk to the United States of America and express that they want to make a deal with us because they are suffering devastating blows on behalf of our United States military. The reason, and this is important for the American people to understand, the reason for the recent strikes over the course of the last several days is because Iran violated the Memorandum of Understanding that we struck with them. Specifically, in the Memorandum of Understanding that they signed, they were not to fire on commercial vessels moving through the Strait of Hormuz. And unfortunately, they have made the tragic decision for them to do that. And President Trump is not going to sit by and allow these active acts of terrorism to take place in the Strait without ensuring Iran pays consequences for that. And that's what we are witnessing right now.
So this isn't random firepower. It's a direct response to Iran attacking. Now the White House lays out the blockade Trump ordered and how the Navy is enforcing it. Here's more from the press secretary.
First, let me address what's happening in the Strait right now. We know that there is a blockade of ships directed by the president for ships entering and departing Iranian ports only. This has been fully implemented and is in full force. This blockade was reimposed due to Iran's inability to honor their agreement with the United States of America. More than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with 2 aircraft carriers and more than 20 warships and dozens of aircraft, are executing the blockade mission as we speak. And during the first 24 hours of the blockade, U.S. CENTCOM has redirected 2 compliant commercial vessels and disabled one non-compliant vessel. So look, the strait is open for ships that are not traveling to and from Iranian ports specifically, and the U.S. Navy is there to ensure that can take place.
So the blockade now fully enforced with U.S. warships separating compliant traffic from Iranian-linked shipping. Next, she shuts down the media game about division inside the Trump administration.
To your first question about the comments between the president and the vice president, respectfully, I do think you're taking comments from different times throughout this conflict and kind of asking me if these are contradictory of each other. I can tell you the president and vice president are on the exact same page about where we are right now in this conflict. And the fact that you do see elements of what's remaining in the Iranian regime that are more willing to make a deal, and then other elements who are not so maybe willing to make a deal, shows that Operation Epic Fury was incredibly effective because we neutered their ability to communicate with one another, and they are a fragmented system. They are not the once very strong, powerful terrorist state that they were before this operation, which was one of the ultimate goals. So we'll continue to work through the process, and as I said, the president will hold them accountable when they turn their back on the words that they state to the United States, but he is always open to diplomacy at the very same time.
So the press keeps fishing for a split. The White House says Trump and Vance are locked in. Then the regime answers with pure propaganda. A billboard in Tehran showing Trump in a coffin. Here you can see the image of President Trump in a coffin above the streets of Tehran. This published by Al Jazeera. So the coffin stunt tells you everything about what this regime really is, no matter how often the media tries to sanitize it. Next, a wider report shows the propaganda push as U.S. strikes hit deeper and the blockade tightens.
Sites Wednesday.
Wow, 5 straight days. Mike Tobin joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Mike.
Morning, Brian. Morning, gang. A lot of developments out of Iran. Let me start out with the U.S. on the offensive, firing deeper into Iran than it has in the past. Some of this information now is coming from Iranian state media, not confirmed by the U.S., but air defense is triggered very close to Tehran, showing U.S. forces striking further north than they have in this round of fighting. Also, barracks for Iran's 388th Mechanized Infantry Brigade were hit. The town of Ranshar to the southeast, that brigade operates tanks and armored vehicles. Also, as part of the blockade, the U.S. has now fired on a commercial ship. It's a tanker flagged out of Curacao named Belma. U.S. Central Command says the tanker was headed toward Karg Island, Iran's primary oil export hub. The ship ignored multiple warnings. U.S. aircraft fired Hellfire missiles into the smokestack and disabled it. This after 2 commercial tankers were turned around the previous day. The propaganda ramps up on the streets of Tehran. One example of the propaganda, there's a mural of the late Senator Lindsey Graham with devil horns painted on his head. And there's another giant mural of President Trump in a coffin. President Trump was asked yesterday what he thought about these threats toward him. He says he doesn't spend much time thinking about them. Still, Iran has extended an olive branch. An American with dual citizenship in Iran, jailed while visiting family in 2024 and charged with espionage, has now been released. A lawyer for Dina Karari posted, "This would not have happened but for the extraordinary and relentless efforts of President Trump. Dina is now safe and traveling back to the United States." The president posted that the U.S. appreciates the goodwill gesture from Iran. Guys.
And now, Karoline Leavitt says, wait, did we already get that one? I don't know why this thing keeps resetting. Next, Iran's military mouthpieces declared the Strait of Hormuz a red line and threaten the whole region.
The criminal United States continues its lawlessness and its efforts to destabilize the region. First, we once again stress that under no circumstances and in no way will we allow the United States, as a foreign and extra-regional country, to interfere in the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's inviolable red line. If the recent threats by the empty-headed President of the United States to target the infrastructure of the Islamic Republic of Iran are carried out by that country's invading military, then everything that has so far remained intact due to Iran's restraint, namely all infrastructure across the region, will be smashed by the iron blows of the powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, leaving no trace behind, as though it had never existed.
So Iran's barking about red lines after getting hammered for days. The next clip shows Trump's answer: bridges, power plants, and a warning it gets really bad if they won't negotiate.
Do you anticipate that the strikes we're seeing this week against Iran will expand? Are you considering hitting energy targets or other locations inside of Iran?
I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets, yeah. But we're going to hit them very hard tonight. We're going to hit them very hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit them very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them, because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Do you believe the Iranians are serious about making a deal?
I think they have no choice.
Why haven't they yet?
I think if I didn't do the way I'm doing, they would never make a deal. They would have never made a deal with Obama. That deal was the worst deal. What they did sign was a worthless piece of paper. What they signed with Obama was a worthless piece of paper that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And what I have is a wall. There will be no nuclear weapon. I'll never sign. And when you listed the three things, by far the most important is they will not have a nuclear weapon.
So Trump raising the stakes from military targets to infrastructure, keeping the regime running next. He makes the bigger point in plain English: Iran will be defeated soon.
All of these things have added up to a level that we're booming. The country is booming, and we'll have Iran defeated soon. They'll be defeated very soon. And then I guess it'll be even better. But, you know, even during this, it's been amazing. I mean, to think, so I call it a military operation, but call it whatever you want. It's incredible. It's like it hasn't made a dent. A lot of people thought oil would go up to $350 a barrel, and today it's at $79. A couple of days ago, it was at $68. It went up a little bit because I had to take tough action because they did not obey what they're supposed to obey. I mean, they just didn't do it. So we took a little action, but it'll all, when that settles down, I think you're going to have $55 oil, which is all great for what you're doing, maybe less than that. But this year alone.
After promising Iran will be defeated soon, Trump turns to the so-called allies who always want America to carry the load. His message to NATO is simple: we don't need you, and we never did. Moments ago, President Trump on Truth Social: the United States has been informed by most of our NATO allies that they don't want to get involved with our military operations against the terrorist regime of Iran in the Middle East. This despite the fact that almost every country strongly agreed with what we are doing, and that Iran cannot in any way, shape, or form be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
Just in, President Trump on Truth Social saying we no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia, or South Korea. In fact, speaking as President of the United States of America, by far the most powerful country anywhere in the world, we do not need the help of anyone. News Nation's Joe.
Wow. Everyone turning their backs. Unbelievable. Next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. That's what Trump said, so stop right there. Tehran put up a coffin billboard with Trump lying inside it. In the exact same time, Karoline Leavitt said Iran still wants a deal because its ability to defend itself has been wiped out. You cannot script the humiliation this cleanly. The regime screams about an inviolable red line in the Strait of Hormuz, but Trump's blockade only targets ships entering and departing Iranian ports. Everyone else passes. That means Trump isolated the terrorist regime without choking lawful commerce, precision, power, and total control. And when the mullahs violated their agreement and fired on commercial vessels, Trump did not beg Europe, did not hide behind NATO, did not recycle Obama's paper garbage. He hit back for 6 consecutive nights. Tehran's coffin stunt was not strength. It was panic painted on a billboard. So they can all put the coffin billboard up and send the negotiators, but this road only gets worse for Tehran. Trump already showed the whole world he can hit Iran anytime, anywhere, any place. And the regime's defenses are shot to pieces. You heard Leavitt. They're still trying to make a deal while U.S. forces keep pounding them. That's what dominance looks like. And I want you to notice something else here. NATO's freeloaders backed away, and Trump basically told them, fine, stay out of the way. America does not need your permission. That's how a superpower acts. No apology tour, no rescue package for terrorists, no face-saving off-ramp for the same regime that threatened shipping and tried to bluff the world with billboard theater in Tehran. So, we've gone through the posts, we've gone through the clips. Remember that image in your head. Remember the men who put it up secretly. They're begging him for terms. That is not resistance. That is collapse in progress. And we noticed that the YouTube notifications have collapsed as well, and so has our visibility in your newsfeed on YouTube. And that's why we set up this telephone number, so you can stay connected with me. I'll send you a text message, one a night, so you get the news when it matters most. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963, like thousands and thousands of patriots already have.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.